Good afternoon and welcome back to Gulfstream Park. Welcome back to Gulfstream today. I'm Gabby Audette, joined by Ron Nicoletti, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too. I know you were at home up in Maryland. Did you have a good time?
I did, yep. Shipped back home for a couple of days, and now we're back in beautiful South Florida here, and for some really great racing action here this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon as well.
Yeah, we got a fast-made track, a firm turf course. We got a couple of carryovers. What better way to celebrate the day after Christmas than betting on 11 races, including 3 graded stakes?
Exactly, and maybe, take a dive on into the early wagers. We have the rolling super high 5 in race 1 and the early pick 5. We also have the pick 6 today, so maybe if you're a little bit short on money after spending some money on Christmas presents, you can dive right on into this. Again, we do have a carryover in that rolling super high 5 wager. That starts in race 1, $2,176 in today's opener. We also do have the early pick 5. No carryover in that race, but it's a 50-cent wager. The races 1 through 5. As we get into this afternoon, later on the card, race 6 does start the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6. We have a carryover of $8,186. And Ron, if that's not enough action, you can get on into the late pick 5 here as well.
Yeah, we got the late pick 5, and as you mentioned, we got the early pick 5, and we're going to start our analysis off today. And let's show you my ticket up there right now. We're going to start the early pick 5. I got a pretty good feeling. I got a $54 ticket this afternoon, and I'm going to go 3 deep in here with the 8, 9, and 10. And I was sort of tempted to just single the 9 in here, Congenial, but I wanted to make sure I got off. And I sort of like Poco Man and then Grail and Joyful. As we'll talk about those horses in a couple of minutes, you see the progression as it go down. Getting only 2 horses in both the final 2 legs of it. See if I can get it done for $54.
And looking at your early pick 5, looking at my pick 6 ticket, it was very difficult to find a single. There are races where you kind of have to use at least 2 or 3 horses in each leg. So if anyone out there has found a single, congratulations, because I couldn't find one today either. But we'll talk about the early pick 5. Once again, that rolling super high 5 carryover over $2,000. And the 9, Congenial, does seem to be the horse to beat off the claim for trainer George Navarro, and the barn has just been doing red hot lately.
Yeah, and this horse moved to the George Navarro Barn V. The claim stretches out to the mile and the 16th. This horse, 15 races at this distance with 3 wins, 3 seconds, 6 thirds. After shipping in from Belmont to run 4th against Similar, that was going 3/4 of a mile at Gulfstream Park West.
And I do have a little statistic here. First off, the claim over the past couple of years here, the past 2 years specifically, for trainer George Navarro. He's 4 for 13, 31%, and believe it or not, still a positive ROI, $2.13. Past 2 years, first off the claim, sprints to route distances. So clearly he wants to stretch this horse out second time off the freshening there. And he does seem like the one to go with. He's been facing that Open Company. But the 8, Poco Man, this is an interesting one too for Antonio Sano. Last time out he was defeated against Open Company. But he really had some trouble at the 8 pole.
Yeah, he did. You lacked room there. He was, he was trying to make his move at the 8 pole, couldn't get through. He finished 4th against Similar, going a mile. And we mentioned the connections, Edgar Zayas in the saddle, I think, with a clean trip. This is a hard-knocking campaign, and it's been running down here. So Poco Man, one of those horses I just said, wanted to just single the 9, but couldn't do it because I'm afraid of Poco Man.
And we also have the 10, El Grand Joyful here in the mix, and this is a horse who should be coming with his late closing run, but last time out he was very wide going into the turn and unfortunately lost a little bit of ground. He was double-digit lengths off the pace, but he did rally to finish a few lengths behind some very classy horses. Obviously runs with both the Peter Walder horse and 2 Cuban Brothers U. Much faster horses in the Claiming Crown Iron horse. Today he's getting back to more reasonable company.
Yeah, you look at his performance too back. He was really impressive at this level and distance back on November 1st. So tried the Claiming Crown. Now back to where he should be able to be very, very effective. One of the horses I had to use on my ticket.
Okay, we'll move on to the second race, an open $16,000 claiming event going out to the turf course at a mile and a 16th. And we might see an early daily double for the Navarro Barn. The 2 fan base is one 2-time winner here at Gulfstream, but he's exiting good fashion, back-to-back races at Gulfstream Park West.
Yeah, he's going to try these $16,000 claimers locally after shipping from Monmouth into Gulfstream Park West, proceeding to win consecutive $8,000 claimers on the turf. George Navarro, you mentioned the connections. Eddie Castro looking for the geldings. Third straight score, $8,000 there. Been watching this. It sort of translates to this level here. So this horse in good form. You mentioned the connections. Looks like the one to beat there. And we're both in agreement.
And I also think he's going to be able to use his early speed to his advantage. And then last time out, he did kind of quicken up a bit earlier. Now he does stay at the two-turn distance, the mile and the 16th here at Gulfstream. So ultimately, you like to see, connections raise their horses up after multiple wins, and that's exactly what they're doing. I also use the 6 Racetrack Romance in the mix here. He's coming out of, I thought, tougher races. Last time out, he was beaten just over 3 lengths behind the Imposter. I believe that was a Joe Sharp runner, and he just ran very, very nicely that day. This will be second off the freshening, and he's getting back to, I think, a more reasonable level. He has shown a tendency at 2 turns in the past to kind of get a little bit headstrong, show early speed, and then falter late. So hopefully the strategy today might be to take back and make that one room.
Good price, too. He's 12-1 on the morning line. I did use the 4 Symphony 41, knocking on the door on the turf versus this caliber competition. In back-to-back races across town at Gulfstream Park West, now goes back to the grass after rallying to finish a fast closing third. That was a race moved from the grass to 7 furlongs on the main track. David Forks, Luis Saez, just riding in fantastic form on my ticket, and I closed it out with the 5 Powerful Instinct. David Jacobson wanted to mention that Junior Alvarado will be riding today in South Florida. Usually stays up in New York during the winter, but he'll be down here riding a couple little stakes for Bill Mott later on.
We have a couple of new faces here this afternoon, for sure. The 11 Make It Gold is an interesting one for trainer Jason Service. The 0 for 7 is kind of one thing that I couldn't get past here at Gulfstream on the turf course, but you have to definitely reason with this horse that he's been facing much tougher in the past, including Grade 3 company over the summer at Monmouth. So I think he's one that could come with a late closing run under Paco Lopez.
And he's actually the morning line favorite in there. Did not use that one on my ticket, so I might have to go back and give that another glance.
Okay, race 3, a maiden 12,500 event, 5.5 furlongs onto the main track. And I thought this was kind of a tricky race, and not surprising that you and I kind of we didn't agree on this race in terms of top selections. But you land here on the 10 Uncle Mugs for Terry Pompey.
And I thought I was going to be cute in here. I thought this horse was going to be a much bigger price than it really is, plummeting to the $12,500 level. First start since facing maiden special weight competition on the turf and on synthetic tracks during 2014. So hasn't been seen in a long time. Terry Pompey readied his son of Artie Schiller for the first race in about 16 months. Sharp half-mile work in 47 flat. So I said, he's been gone for this long. Maybe they'll miss him, but I think he's second choice on the morning line. You have it on your ticket, too. I thought I'd get 10-1.
And the barn actually still has a positive ROI with similar layoffs there, so that's always a feather in the cap, the 10 Uncle Mugs. This is just such a long layoff that I'm going to think that perhaps needs one, even though the barn does well with long layoff horses. But I do respect him in the mix. The 11 JR's Call is one that I kind of had my eye on last time out, and this was a perfect case in point here. I wanted to wait and see how this horse ran off the layoff last time out, and it was okay. It was sprinting on the turf. He just really couldn't pick up the pieces there at 22-1. I thought he was a bit outclassed, and also just faster horses at 5 furlong sprints. You don't get those kind of horses at 5.5 at this level on the main track. So now getting back to the main track, he ran some good races on the main track before the layoff, so I go back to him here today, the 11 JR's Call, and rounded out with the 7 Spark de Shark, a horse who you also use in the mix.
Yeah, I use Spark de Shark, and also Blogosphere's turning back to 5.5 after breaking from the rail again. But he broke a step slow. This horse, if he breaks sharp, he's going to be a major part of the pace scenario. But he's got to get away from that gate in a timely fashion.
Race 4, we'll move along to the Grade 3 Sugar Swirl going out to the main track at 6 furlongs, and Stone-tastic even money on the morning line. And not only does she come in with very, very nice form, but she's also looks to be the lone speed of the race.
And yeah, that's very important. And, she's been in the last 2 Breeders' Cups, so it looks like a really nice spot for this horse.
It does. She's exiting a freshening since since the Breeders' Cup last time out. And again, you look at her back races, though, has shown the ability to run well, run fresh well. And you look at her speed, too, Ron. I really don't think anybody can keep up with her. The 4 best behavior is naturally pretty quick, but she might get caught in a tricky position just chasing those early fractions. So, again, I handicapped this race thinking that she's going to be lone speed. She's going to go out to the front end, and Paco's going to say, catch me if you can. But the one you bought her, I think this is a very interesting 5-year-old mare, and she's capable of running some very nice races. We'll go back and take a look at her race on the 18th of October there at Keeneland. She was the number 3 horse, and she was down on the inside rail. And how the race kind of panned out was that there was a blanket of horses in front of her, kind of 3 horses deep, and she just raided. She stalked behind the pace. A gap opened up between another runner and the rail, and she was just very gritty, gutsy, having this nice grinding move from off the pace and closing to finish well, holding off really anybody else who was also closing from off the pace. So what I took from that race, though, was that she has shown the ability, if the rider can get aggressive, to stay closer to the pace, and I think that's the only way that she can run well here today.
Yeah, I mean, she's got to get a good position in there, and 10-1 in the morning line, so one of the horses in here that might give Stone-tastic a tussle in the stretch, especially if someone goes up and softens her up early. I'm talking about the 2 Stone-tastic. You mentioned the 4 best behavior, turning back to 3/4 of a mile after returning from about a 5-month-old layoff to finish a duel for the lead second. That was in the 1-mile Grade 3 Rampart. It's Marty Wolfson, Johnny Velasquez, 6-time winner at the distance, this horse. It stretched out around that 1-turn mile last time out. But this horse, if anybody's going to beat the 2, it's going to be the 4, in my estimation.
Yeah, best behavior. She's going to be ultra sharp off the freshening here. 2 starts off the freshening there, and she's cutting back in distance. But again, she's one that is capable of showing speed at 6 furlongs, at 6.5 furlongs. But is it the same kind of speed as Stone-tastic, or will she kind of be taken out of her comfort zone because she has to chase her?
Yeah, I think that if she goes to the lead, it'll be disastrous for her. I think she's got to find a stalking position behind that. But with that said, that seems like we're going back to setting it up perfectly for Stone-tastic, who's going to be running and gunning as soon as they pop that gate latch.
Let's hope so. But yes, that mare comes into the race in really good form behind Callie Star, who put in a solid effort last time out. We'll go on to the 5th race on the card, a maiden $12,500 condition, 5.5 furlongs onto the main track. And the 3 Breezy song is 5-2 on the morning line. Honestly, though, I could see her being one of the more vulnerable favorites on the card, primarily because she's a 0 for 11, so she's kind of a long-time maiden. She is coming out of 2 back-to-back good performances, but she also has to contend with a layoff since late August.
Yeah, I didn't have her on the top of the ticket. I got the 9 here, and Lady Nora on my ticket up here, who's moving to the main track after showing good mid-race speed and weakening late. Trio of 5-furlong turf sprints against similar opposition. Juan Rodriguez, Edgar Zayas handling the combination here in a surface switch and a mini stretch out today. 10-1 on the morning line. That's where I went.
Okay, the 6 Calypso Music is going to be my top selection. Second time starter here, this 3-year-old filly. And, the connections have been doing well with what they've run so far this year, but she's coming out of a pretty key race. We saw the Winner Series song come back recently and win a non-winners of 3 lifetime condition for $30,000, and she actually won that very impressively. She kind of drew off away from the rest of the field. And the second place finisher went to go on to win a maiden $20,000. So all considering, I thought that race for the condition actually came up relatively tough, and she's taken a drop in class.
Yeah, and she's one of the horses. I found this race to be wide open. I mean, there's lots of ways to go. I also used the 3 Breezing song, making her first start since coming with just about a nostril of exiting the maiden ranks here at this level and distance. But it was back on August 29th. The trainer, Stanley Gold, he's pretty sharp. He's 8 for 42. It's about 20% this year with horses making the first start off a layoff. So this barn I've always respected, and I think this horse can run well in here. So I used the 3, and I closed it out with a number 7, Miss Lugo.
And that's interesting enough, too. She gets Lasix for her debut start today. Past 2 years, the connections have only had 2 maiden claimers, first-time starters. One of them was on the turf and didn't run well. The other one was against maiden $25,000 claimers there. On the dirt, 5.5 furlongs and actually won. So it's a very small sample size, but it's one that you have to throw in.
I was going to put that stat out there, but it was 1-for-1. It's a $9.80 return of investment, so the horse paid $9.80.
Exactly. one to look out for, perhaps. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive right into the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6. We do have a little carryover today of just over $8,000 right after this. Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Gabby Gaudette alongside Ron Nicoletti, and we're talking about the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6. We do have a carryover this afternoon, perhaps some last-minute Christmas cash or holiday cash, or maybe even going into the new year, right?
Yeah,
Take it down.
even if you don't get that one unique ticket, the 6 of 6 or 5 of 6, they pay great.
They pay very well.
They pay very well, so it's a very fun bet, and it's very, very popular down here, and you can understand why. And somebody that hit it just last week for $129,000 must have had a really nice Christmas.
Exactly. We'll take a look at the sequence here today. I couldn't find a single, but starting it all off with 4 horses, the 2, 6, 10, and 11 as we get into race 7, 4, 9, 11, race 8, just using 2 horses in that event, the number 2 and the 10. It's a maiden special weight. Looks like the 2 wheels up now seems to be very tough to beat. We'll get to that a little bit later. And race 9 using 2 horses, and races 10 and 11 using 3 in each there. I had a tough time with the sequence today. Maybe when we get into the pick 5, you can go through your ticket as well and walk us through it. But to kick us off, race 6, I had to use at least 4 horses here.
Yeah, and we both have the 6 and the 10 on our ticket, and that is a 6-inch heels, which we'll show you that in a minute. But I wanted to mention the 10 in here, little smarty pants. This one is the speed in the field. Going to break from an outside post today. It's post 10, looking to get positioned and lead this group to the wire. Here's why I went with this horse on top, because the rail setting today is 120 feet, thus the only 10 horses, well, there's only 8 horses in the body of the race, and I think this horse has got to get over at 120 feet, and I think if he does, he's got a good chance to win it. Would I single him? Absolutely not, but that's why I wanted to mention that 120-foot rail setting today.
Well, the 6, the Ghost Bride, figured to be maybe one to shake up the early pace, and now she's a scratch out of here. So again, that might maybe even the 6-inch heels if she transitions her speed over to the turf today. But again, I agree with you. The 10 little smarty pants, she's going to be very tough, especially getting in with the 5-pound weight there with Vicente Gudiel. And should be very tough from the outside. I went with the 6-inch heels, though. Ricky Griffith, I think you have a little stat on this.
Yeah, Ricky Griffith, if you look at this, we've been watching this stat over the last week or so. It's horses shipping in. And this Ricky Griffith is 3 for 14, a limited sampling, but 21%. But he's got a positive ROI of $2.48 this year with horses going from synthetic to turf. And as I said, we've been watching this angle, synthetic to dirt, synthetic to turf, so we just thought we'd throw it out there. And I can understand you having this horse right on top of your ticket.
Sometimes you get those long-time maidens, and they finally find themselves in the winner's circle, and it gives them a whole new level of confidence, and they wind up reeling off back-to-back victories, or even more so than that. So that was a horse that I did like. Am I completely sold on it?
No.
Probably not. Had to use a couple other horses. The 2, Sweet Forestry, is an interesting one. Is coming out of a second-place performance last time out on the main track, but the turf performances are actually not bad against decent company. 25,000 non-winners, a 2 at Indiana Grand. So that was another horse that I used as well.
And I threw in the 3, Patient Dignity, going back to a most accomplished distance, looking to sit that stalking trip. Especially if Little Smarty Pants gets challenged early, this horse might end up sitting in in the catbird seat behind that speed. So the 120-foot rail placing makes this race very interesting.
Very interesting, very tricky as well. We'll go on to the 7th race to kick off the late pick 5, the 50-cent pick 5, and we started all off on the turf course at 5 furlongs for this maiden $35,000 event. Walk us through your ticket here, Ron.
Well, let's show you my late pick 5. Also, like you did, could not find a single anywhere on the ticket, but I went 3 deep in here with the 4 and 9-11. We'll talk about those horses as we go down. I used the 3 in the 8th and 3 in the 9th, 2 in the last. In the last, the 11th race, I used the morning line favorite in there, but I went with a long shot in the 2 that I think could run. That's Maximova, that can run very well in there. So taking a little bit of a shot in the last leg. It's 15-1 on the morning line, and I'm hoping if the 12 wins, I understand it, but if the 2 wins, we'll get a good price.
Very, very nice. We'll talk about this race here to kick us off, the 9 Casting Couch. We both use as our top selections at 10-1 on the morning line, but this 2-year-old filly, she's dropping in class. She really wasn't respected in debut by the public. She went off at 25-1 in that event at Gulfstream Park West, but overall I thought it was a pretty decent performance, and she's getting a drop in class here. That actually seemed to be a pretty key race. The second place finisher would go on to win next out against maiden $50,000 company, Extravagant Kid. So I think this is going to be a perfect spot for her.
Well, this is the Dane Kabisky angle. What happened here was Dane Kabisky came to Gulfstream Park West. Nobody knew who he was, and that's why that horse went off at that price.
Now, I knew who he was.
But I'm just saying, when over at Gulfstream Park West, we didn't know how good he was going to do. And just a little stat over here, 6 horses over at Gulfstream Park West. He came over here, 2 wins, 2 seconds, 38%. With that switch from Gulfstream Park to Gulfstream Park West to Gulfstream, so everybody knows about him now. And I thought that this performance last time out, I'm going to put him right on top of the ticket, as you did. We're thinking alike, 10-1 on the morning line.
And we've honestly seen a lot of his runners, especially maiden runners, take big drops in class. And this is not a big drop, but it's a significant drop in class. And they just, I know it's kind of an oxymoronic statement probably to say that the barn does well with class droppers, but sometimes it doesn't always shake out that way, and that's something that I've been paying attention to. A lot of maiden special weight or even high-level maiden claimers dropping down to a more reasonable level. They've been winding up in the winner's circle. So that's one to use. The 4 Ramblin' and Gamblin' is a horse that we also use. She's by Elusive Quality out of a Summer Squall mare, and the mare actually has produced 3 6-figure earners in terms of foals, and she was actually quite good on the turf as well. Jason Service, I do have a quick statistic for you. Over the past couple of years, the past 2 years specifically, with maiden claimers, 2-year-olds, first-time starters, out of 13 horses, 3 wins, 2 seconds, 1/3, 23%, and actually a positive ROI of $4.70. So I thought that was interesting.
You know, I love our exactor in here. You also used the 11 in second unknown, and this one, the one we have on top is 10-1. The unknown is 15-1. So if this comes through, it's going to be a nice exactor. This one turning back, talking about the 11th to 5 furlongs, went up wide for the lead, faded to get beat double-digit lengths against maiden special weight competition, going 7.5. Think this is a good spot. Carlo Vacareza is going to have Johnny Velasquez in the saddle tonight. I think this horse is going to run exceptionally well. So let's hope we get that 9-11 as our exact and keep us both alive in the Rainbow Six and the late pick 5.
Let's hope so. We'll go on to the 8th race on the card, a maiden special weight going out to the main track at the 1-turn mile, and the 2 wheels up now, 7-2 here on the morning line, but does come out of a very key race. We'll actually go back and take a look at that replay there. On the 8th of November, going against maiden special weight company, Luis Saez was aboard that day as well, and we saw the winner, Vorticity, just kind of get a perfect trip, go out to the lead, but this horse obviously a pretty decent runner-up performance. Now, the interesting thing about this race were the odds. Wheels Up Now was even money in that event. The eventual winner, Vorticity, was about 7-1, and he kind of just followed Vorticity home. But the one thing that you have to take note of is what a key race this was. Vorticity went on to win against Stakes Company. Condo King, went on to win a maiden special weight at Aqueduct. Stradivari comes out of that race, an 11th length winner here for Todd Pletcher a few weeks ago. So it was such a key race, and he gets blinkers on. I think he's going to be very tough.
Yeah, you talk about Todd Pletcher. We both have the 10 on our ticket. Rally Cry stretching out today to this distance. Todd Pletcher dueled early last time out, weakened to finish third at 30 cents to the dollar in that race. A much anticipated 6 furlong career debut. Pletcher, Javier Castellano, it's a son of Uncle Mo.
And they're always very precocious. We've seen that so far. Even last weekend, we saw a really nice maiden special weight performance by 2 Uncle Mo's that you definitely have to look out for next time out. They finished a good second and third in that event. But the 13 Billion Star is another one by Bernardini. $750,000 purchase. This horse is a full brother to honor and serve. And Angela Renee El Nawi was stakes winner as well. And this horse seems to be kind of the sneaker in here.
He's the sneaker in here in to honor and serve. If you don't know, won the Florida Derby right on this track here. So $750,000 son of Bernardini. And I know you had a stat you wanted to show here.
Yes, on the connections here, Gustavo Delgado over the course of the past 2 years with maiden special weight, first-time starters in dirt routes alone. 2 for 5, so 40%, but 3 for 5 in the money, and a $6.08 ROI. So when they do show up, they show up at a nice price. And this could be, like I said, the flyer in here.
Yeah, it could be the flyer in here. We got some really beautifully bred horses in this race. The one horse is a half the Coffee Click. We got a horse that's a half the Tonalist, the Belmont Stakes winner. So beautifully bred. Great, one of the great maiden special weight races at Gulfstream Park West. Gulfstream Park.
I'm excited to see these horses here in the paddock this afternoon as well. Beautifully bred and probably beautifully built physically as well. We'll go on to the 9th race here. Another grade 3 action going a mile and a half out on the turf course. We have a couple of scratches in here, but my top selection still remains the same, although I do respect the 11 to Big Hoss in here. I land on the 10 Kagan, but the 11 the Big Hoss, again, this is a horse that should be very tough to beat, exiting grade 1 company in the Breeders' Cup Turf last time out.
Yeah, he's making his first start, as you mentioned, after his 2-race win streak, which included a victory in the 12 furlong grade 3 Kentucky Turf Cup. Ended when he encountered trouble. He had a little bit of trouble in that race, if you remember. He finished 5 wide 6 as Gabby mentioned in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Turf. Mike Maker, Javier Castellano, looks like the class of the field in here. And what I like him more than thinking he's the class of the class, because there's nice horses in here, he likes this mile and a half distance.
And we'll take a look at that mile and a half in the Kentucky Turf Cup there, the Grade 3, when he was coming in. Obviously, the connections thought highly enough of him to go on and face him against Breeders' Cup Turf runners, including Found, Golden Horn, Big Blue Kitten. And visually, this horse kind of just kicked away from the field. And obviously, the configuration at Kentucky Downs on the turf course is tricky. Some horses really don't like it. Some horses thrive off of it. But it was important to see this horse run well over the summer at Saratoga and go on to continue that good form at a track like Kentucky Downs. And honestly, at 60-1, this horse did not put in a poor performance in the Breeders' Cup.
No, he ran pretty darn good there, being 6 with that little bit of early trouble. And you're right about Kentucky Downs. I still don't know where. Every time they show the camera turned up home, I think the race is over, and then there's another part of the race. Very hard to understand. So, Kagan, that's what I want to hear about.
Yeah, I'm going with this horse primarily. Last time out, again, he did face grade 3 company, but you go back to his performances going a mile and a half. That was in the Canadian International behind some very nice horses. A Woodbine Mile going the mile behind Mondialis, second in the Breeders' Cup Mile. So this is another horse who I think might get overlooked, but he's been consistently competing against very good grade 1 company. So I think he should be able to just sit in that stalking trip and close late. The 5 War Dancer you use, he should be a pace presence, which I think is only going to help him here.
Yeah, and he's a previous winner at this distance, a mile and a half, not a distance we run all the time. Junior Alvarado, name on this grade 1 stakes place. He was grade 1 stakes place in the Man of War. He's a son of Warfront. Lots to like there.
Okay, we'll go on to the 10th race, the first half of the late daily double, an allowance optional claiming event, 2 other than 7.5 furlongs out on the turf course. And I thought it kind of, this race pretty much boiled down to just a few horses. The 2 Stormy Rocket is one to use. I initially tried to beat the favorite with the 10 Wild Woohoo, and I'm still going to try to beat Stormy Rocket in here. First off the claim for trainer Michael Maker.
Yeah, this one moved there via the claim, stretches out to 7.5 after losing all chance. He reared at the start. It was a 5.5 furlong optional claimer at Saratoga's back in August, the late August. He's a son of Stormy Atlantic. He debuts at the distance. He's got 4 consecutive bullet workouts show, including including one in 58 flat. He's coming into the race in good form. I don't know about the 7.5 furlongs, but boy, is he working well.
And 7.5 furlongs, that's the thing. If it were any other track, 7 furlongs, one turn distances. But today he's coming off a layoff. Yes, I do realize he's been working very well in the mornings with his bullet workouts. But this is going to be the first time in a very long time, if not only his only time, going 2 turns on the turf. So I have all the faith in the connections. Javier Castellano, Michael Maker, very tough. Don't leave this horse off your ticket. But I thought the 11 Green Grass of Wyoming is one that interested me. Again, the angle with coming out of some of the softer turf course at Churchill kind of in mid-November. If he gets back to his back races, perhaps this is a race that might be a touch too short for him. He might want to go a mile and a half, mile and a 16th, excuse me. But again, he's coming in second off the freshening. He draws in off the also eligible, so I stick to him today.
Yeah, and I went with the 8-star contender in second, debuting for Mark Cassie, so immediately you have to pay attention. He ended as a campaign of North with a claiming victory, going 7/8 on the Woodbine main track. He's a 5-year-old. He likes the turf. He's 6 for 10 in the money.
Okay, we'll go to the final race of the day. Another grade 3 mile and a half out on the turf course here. And the 6 Key Dancer is interesting. Actually, Chad Brown brings out several different horses, including your favorite, the 12 Gold Espany here for Chad Brown. Javier Castellano gets the mount. Now, the only thing that I think makes her a little bit tricky in here is the fact that she has such an outside post and she's got speed. There are other quick fillies to her inside too. Can she get into position going into the first turn?
I mean, that's always a concern, but never been beaten at this mile and a half distance, in the grade 3 Long Island handicap. So I think we want to spotlight her.
Yeah, we'll go back and take a look because that was a very impressive performance. She was coming out of the grade 3 Glen Falls and coming in off a bit of a freshening there to Aqueduct in the Long Island handicap grade 3 company, and she just kind of went to the front end. She was 7-2 in that spot, I believe second or third choice, and she really just kicked clear from the rest of the field. She held sway. Now she did go to the front end, and she pretty much had everything go her way, but that's what you get with speed horses going her out of ground on the turf especially. So I thought it was visually impressive. However, that day she drew the rail post and she has speed. Today she draws the way outside post, and we could see maybe some other fillies turn the tables on her.
Well, I think the interesting thing there and the key is Javier Castellano. I think he'll know what to do.
Okay, the 2 Maximova is a horse you threw into the mix here as in your late pick 5 ticket.
Yeah, I just thought he was a bit of a long shot in here. I think he's going to sit a trip behind the speed, maybe close and get it done here. He's going to get a price for sure on the number 2 Maximova.
And the 6 Key Dancer is an interesting one. Tyler Gaffleone gets the mount here. Comes out of the grade 3 Bewitch at Keeneland and was just narrowly defeated at 11-1 behind Kitten's Point. Now, the big question is, can she go a mile and a half off of an April layoff? Well, Chad Brown, with 180-day plus layoffs, turf routes, obviously, with fillies specifically, because we all know that he does very well with turf horses, but even better so with turf fillies. 32% out of 34 horses coming off layoff, 65% in the money, and still a positive ROI of $2.15. So I respect the 12 Gold Espany here in the pick 6, but I'm also throwing in that one as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to beat him too with a long shot in there. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what makes the beauty of betting these pick 5s and pick 6s.
Absolutely, and once again, the pick 6 does start in race 6 today. We have a carryover in that rolling super high 5. We have a carryover of just over $2,000. That does start in the first race, as well as the 50-cent early pick 5. All right, well, best of luck here on the card. Thank you for joining us here on Gulfstream today. We're going to take a quick break, and Larry Colmus will be back shortly with scratches and changes.